Hello, everybody, and welcome to the weekly Oracle Wisdom. My name is Natalie Sadie, and for those of you joining me for the very first time, we are going to have a look at what the Oracle cards have to tell us about the energies for the week ahead. I hope that everybody had a wonderful and restful weekend. I believe we now have Pluto moving direct, and I know that that last week of Pluto station was a lot energetically. It certainly was for me. It was incredibly challenging, but I feel so much better today. And I hope that if you were facing the same challenges, that you too are feeling much, much better. Okay, so we are starting. I enjoyed the reading last week with the Wisdom of the Oracle. So we are starting with this deck again. This is a Xolette Baron-Reid deck. And every time I see somebody else using it, I love it. And okay. Sorry, we have cards jumping out, so I'm just going to pull a few before we have a look at what's here. Okay. Oh, okay. All right, so the first card that we have out is a change in the wind. Then we have a leg up and imagine. So I think, first of all, this is a week that is going to bring change. And I feel like look, for me, change is always good. I hate feeling stagnant. That's me personally. But there's definitely change coming. So I'm not sure if this is change that you've been hoping to come or if it's something that is going to come out of the blue for you. But there's definitely something that's shifting up. And I do, like I said when we started, Pluto is finally direct after that week of being stationed. And okay. And I think that this is, oh, okay. Man, the cards are talking today. Can I tell you, I was deciding which decks to use, and there was a deck that I was going to finish with, and then I went, no, I'm going to do something else. And I pulled out this other deck, and then when I pulled the cards out, there was this random card from another deck within that deck that I was going to use. And what do you know? The card came from the deck that I was originally thinking I should use. So I pulled out my pendulum and confirmed, and yeah, that's the deck that we're meant to finish with. But it just feels like they have a lot to say. So I feel like we've got this change coming in. A leg up is I think it's a week where we're going to need assistance. And I know that sometimes it's difficult for us to ask for assistance, but the assistance is there. So it's time to lean on. And when I was looking at this card, another card jumped out, which I'll show you in a second. But this is where we need to lean on people. We need to be able to ask for that help, and we need to know that that assistance is there. And if you have a look at the picture that's being used, you've got the baby polar bear climbing on top of his mum to get up that little bit higher. And I think this is what we're being told. There is assistance there. We can climb the ladder that we need to climb, but we may need that help. So know that that help is there. You know, mums for most people is a very solid presence in our lives. I understand that's not for everyone. It certainly wasn't for me, but for my sisters, it was. So I think that symbolism with this particular card is a big thing. And I love that Mrs. D is saying that she identifies with a polar bear. Clearly, this is a reading that you needed to hear. Then we pulled out the Imagine card. And I think this is a matter of, we have to be able to visualize where it is we want to go. This is a week to tap into creating and focusing on what it is that we would like to see in our life and the vision that we can create. The reality is, our reality is has been created by us for better or worse. And I know some people, especially that have had really difficult lives, struggle with that notion that we do have control over our lives. I reference Ida, who was my therapist for 5 years, and it was the hardest 5 years of my entire life. My marriage with my childhood sweetheart ended. I got myself into a relationship that turned out to be incredibly abusive. And then my mother passed away. Because of the abusive relationship, I was in financial dire straits. I was in a really dark place. And this woman helped me through all of it. In doing that, I needed to face the reality of my past and the sexual assaults that I had had when I was younger, and being able to get to a place emotionally and spiritually, energetically to be able to deal with all of that. And we had a huge fight one day when she said, we are all in control of the life that we're living. And I told her what she could go and do to herself. And I stormed out, and I didn't want to hear it because I'm like, do you think I asked for any of that abuse in my life? Anyway, a week later, I realized I still needed her help. And so I called her and I apologized for my behavior and for carrying on instead of hearing her out. And she said, can I explain? And I said, yes. And she said, I don't think you consciously wanted all of these things to happen to you, but there is a part of you that felt that that was all you were worth. And what we have to figure out is why you felt that and how can we shift that? And that was one of the most empowering things that I have ever learned in this life, because all of a sudden I had power back in my life. And in doing that, I learned that I can create the future that I want. And talking to my current partner, whenever there is something going on and we have a big conversation about it, he'll always say to me, everything in this life is co-created. So us in this relationship, in this moment, it is co-created, and this is what we need to look at and what we need to figure out. So in saying that, and I'm talking about awful things that have happened to me or situations that are challenging, but it also gives us the power to visualize and create the things that are wonderful in our lives. And this is what we have to remember. And for some people, they'll say manifestation, absolutely. But this is what we have to focus on this week. This is a window. This is an opportunity for us to really step into that. So then we had two more cards pop out, which is community, which I think goes back to the leg up. This is a week where we are going to be leaning on our community and those around us, or this is a week where that's exactly what we should be doing. So the help is there. We just need to ask for it or be able to see it and not be too proud to actually verbalize or rely on other people. And we have a community around us, and maybe your community looks different to mine, but it exists and it is there. And there are people that we can lean on. We can have the conversations that we need to with people to sort of say, hey, this is where I want to go. And you never know, you might find people that are wanting to be on that path with you and work with you and say, great, let's create this vision together. And dropping cards. Or maybe it's just that support that you need to be able to get to that next place. Then we had poised. To me, this is, we're on the precipice. We're poised to take that next step. We're poised for success. So in focusing on and accepting the change that is coming this week, in being able to lean on the people around us in that community and being able to imagine or manifest the things that we want in this life, you're going to be on that precipice and ready for it to actually shift. Now, another card came out, but I want one more clarifying card before we look at it, because I feel like there's more to this. Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, so the card that came out is mending, and this is building bridges, repairing something that maybe fell apart. And this could be something that maybe broke before or during the retrograde. I don't know why Pluto feels like it's a huge part of this week, maybe because it's an outer planet, because it's come back into Pisces for the final time in our lives. We're never going to have this energy again. And sitting at these end degrees of Pisces is incredibly difficult because it's also the end of the zodiac. So we're about to start this new cycle. We've had a hint of what's coming and what the energies are, but it's a lot. And with it finally moving forward at these final degrees of Pisces, I feel like there is something that we need to fix. And it could be a relationship, it could be a material thing, but there is something that we need to mend. And if it's a relationship and somebody comes to you and wants to have that conversation, be open to it. It doesn't need to be that you need to accept this person back into your life in the capacity that they were in. It doesn't mean that things need to go back to where they were. It could be that if that's what works for you and what you're open to, but it could just be putting something to bed, accepting what the situation was, getting it or gaining a different perspective, but more about giving you peace in that. So be open to whatever it is that comes up, and maybe it's something that you need to initiate. Maybe it's something that you need to apologize for. Maybe it's just something that you need to do for you, even if it's not necessarily something that you need to apologize for, but maybe it's something you need to initiate so that you can have the peace that you need in order to move forward in your life as you are about to start this new chapter and journey. With all of that said, the final card that came out from Wisdom of the Oracle is All That Glitters. What is happening this week is a good thing. It leads to good things. And I feel like if this change comes up and you're going, what on earth is going on? And I don't think this is what I want. I think this is something that you need to be open to. You need to kind of run through it and see where it, whoop, man. They just have so much to say today. Okay. And I love when these cards confirm the thing that I'm already getting. I often say that my messages that come through really is me just channeling, but the cards sort of give me the guide as to where it is I'm meant to go. So you'll see in a second. I feel like I need another card or two, but whatever is coming up this week and whatever changes are happening, it's all for the better. All that glitters, it's all gold and shiny things. And I always think of Scrooge sitting on his pile of gold. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I know Scrooge has a negative connotation, but what I mean is you're sitting on a pile of riches and it's real. Like the riches that exist are real. So be open to what shifts are coming in. Okay, I really want these 2 extra cards. Okay. Okay. So this is the Clarifying Life Situations, which is a MahrukhX deck. So the first one coming out is Crystal Clear. It's time to see your life and its limitless potential without seeing through rose-colored glasses. Clarity, certainty, and truth. So I think this is where you are going to get clarity, and maybe the change in what's happening or the shift that's coming in is what's going to give you the clarity. I also think this clarity that you're getting is why you're going to be open to mending what is whatever it is that needs to be repaired. We have partnership. A significant relationship is about to be forged that will assist you in expanding your growth, collaboration, support, and union. So this card obviously has a love heart, which signifies love. But for me, this is more about a union and a partnership in terms of the assistance that you may lean into this week. Of course, there's always the opportunity for love, but for this particular reading, I think this is more about partnerships that are forged in order to help your growth, your journey, and to move forward. And maybe these are people that you already know, but they start to take a bigger role in your life. I think that it's also possible that there are new people coming in that really will assist you on this path. Then we have next level. If you leave your comfort zone, you will see accelerated growth and change, expansion, explore, and growth. And this is accepting that change that's coming in. It's stepping through that door. And this is what that poised card is talking about. This is hitting up that next level. So I've been saying for the last few weeks, in this life, we all have free will. You have the choice to make the decision as to what is right for you, what you want to do. So if this change comes in and you go, I don't want to do this, you may make your life a little more difficult, but you always have the option to kind of stay where you are and stay where you feel safe. The question is that really what you want? Is that going to be what's best for you moving forward? Protection, protect your energy and guard yourself against people and things that drain you. Security, guard, and vulnerable. There are always people in our orbit that are absolutely energy vampires. I have a few of them in my life, and I've hit a point where I no longer make myself available in the way that I used to, because in the past, if I loved this person and went, okay, I love them, they're a lot, but I need to be available. I need to answer their calls when they come through because this is someone that's close to me. I no longer feel that. I answer their calls when I have the energy and the bandwidth to take those calls. If I have to go somewhere and I have to see these people, I make sure I do a protection exercise before I go in so that my energy is not being drained. So just make sure that you're taking those precautions this week. You may find that you're more energetically sensitive to these people that are around you that are sort of sucking the life out of you. And when there is change and growth like we're going to see this week, when that is coming in, that is taking a lot of your energy. So just make sure that you are taking care of you. If you need time out, take that. If you can't take the call that day, but you can call them back the next day, do that. One of my things that I do is I will take the call sometimes, but I will take the call that when I'm in the car and I am going somewhere. So there is a hard stop to that call. So I can't get sucked into it for an hour or 2 hours, which is maybe one of the things that happens. So just find the little workarounds just to make sure that you are protected and you have enough for what you need to do and what you need to achieve. And then the final one from the clarifying life situations is communication. Be open to receiving messages. Right now, it's important to communicate clearly and honestly. Calls, text expressions, and answers. So I feel like this card, this has to do with the community card leg up. It's about asking for what you need so that you can receive it. You have to be able to communicate that. The other thing is, I think it works in terms of this mending. If the mending is happening in terms of relationships, work, personal, familial, anything like that. But I think it's a time to be really honest and to speak your truth and say what what it is you need. And if you aren't able to say it, then it's very difficult for the universe or anybody else to provide. I've had a weekend of having to have conversations that aren't the most fun, but you know what? It leaves everybody clear as to where we are, and it allows us all to move forward and know where everybody stands and what everybody needs individually. Okay, so we are going to pull 2 cards from the Inner Child Oracle. If you are on the live and you caught the beginning of this, you already know I had thought about using this deck, and then at the last minute changed my mind. I pulled out a different deck, and in amongst that deck, I found a random card. And I went, is that from the Inner Child Oracle? So I opened that box, and sure enough, it was one of these. So I was like, okay, now I know this is a deck I'm meant to be using. So I feel like this is just something that I need to focus on energetically this week. There is hope ahead. Have courage and take heart, for there is hope. I just wonder if when this change comes in and when we're being asked to make these shifts and, you know, rely on people that can be uncomfortable for a lot of us. And if you've been watching me for a while, you know I am hyper independent, hate asking for help, hate having to rely on anybody else. And that comes from a childhood where I had to do everything myself. I didn't have a choice. And so when everything gets shifted and moved around and feels jumbled, it can feel like everything is out of control and maybe we're about to lose control of everything that's going on. But there is hope ahead. I think, to me, this picture is how I picture heaven. Absolutely beautiful in terms of the colors and the lights, and you've got mountains there, and just, you've got mountains. I feel like there's shadows of buildings there, but there's water and clouds and just all the elements, and it looks absolutely spectacular. To me, this is the equivalent of all that glitters. You are stepping into a place that is like heaven. So this is what you need to focus on. I think that card is coming out more to tell you, if there's doubt, to keep going. So I said 2 cards, but apparently we're doing 3. Accept what is. The act of acceptance will bring peace. This is about surrendering to what is coming. It is about it. I said a little while ago that we have free will, and we do. The problem is when the universe is trying to propel us forward and we're not listening, that's when life can become challenging. And if you watch David, the Leo King, talking about the astrology, he'll talk about certain transits that are more difficult if we haven't done the spiritual work, if we're fighting against what's happening. Whereas when we surrender and we trust the universe, we end up in these magical places. And this is a week where we need to accept what is. We need to surrender to the changes that are coming. We need to surrender to, you know, the reparations. If somebody is coming back to us and saying, hey, can we talk about this? Hear them out. It doesn't mean you need to step back into any of these situations. It's about doing what is going to bring you peace, what is going to bring you growth. And what a perfect way to finish this off. It's time to celebrate. Cultivate an air of celebration today. What is coming is worthy of celebration. You're going to end up again in this heavenly space where it's peaceful and tranquil and everything is as it's meant to be. So I feel like it's a week where there's a lot going on in terms of things are shifting up, and it can be uncomfortable, but it is all happening to get you to a better place, to a higher level. And I think that it's a wonderful thing. Make sure you lean on community. like I said, these people may already be in your life. They may be new people that come in, but be open to that assistance, because they will help you get to where you need to go, and use this week as a week to manifest the life that you want. And anyone that knows anything about manifesting already knows this, but for those of you that, are sort of new, or you're thinking this doesn't really work, you have to be so specific in the vision that you're putting forward. So if you're writing your manifestations down, write them to the minutest or the most minute detail, so that the universe very clearly understands. If you put generalities in this vision, whether you're speaking it, writing it, picturing it, the generality, the universe will present it to you in the way that it understands. And just because you think it one way doesn't mean that that's how the universe sees it. So keep that in mind, so that you can have the best outcome for what it is that you are trying to manifest. I know that this is going to be a phenomenal week, and I hope that you are all able to just release and trust the universe and go on this awesome journey and experience it all. For those of you, we're approaching the middle of the month. Don't forget that the October monthly forecast is up. I posted that on the 1st. Go and have a watch. Pick a pile. Maybe you want to rewatch the pile that you picked at the beginning of the month. Maybe you want to pick a different pile because a different crystal is resonating for you. Do that, and please make sure you let me know in the comments if it actually resonated for you, because as I say, not every reading is for every person. Take what resonates and leave what doesn't. I hope you all have a wonderful week. I do think it's a super exciting week, and I look forward to seeing you all next Monday. Have a great one.